You'll hear a lot more about that as the day goes by. Mark, you can cut me back a little bit if you wouldn't mind. I'm Jeff Dixon, and we're going to talk today about leadership, and that's really what today's about. Now, we're going to put a Christmas twist on it, but in this room, you come from a variety of different places. Your backgrounds are going to be different, and so what we're going to do, hopefully, over the course of this day, is give you some information, leadership stuff, if you will, good stuff, that will help in whatever environment you're in. Now, to begin with, though, we're going to kind of keep the Christmas theme going just a little bit. I want to ask you a question. Close your eyes for just a minute. Go back somewhere into your childhood. Hopefully, it was a happy one. And I want you to think of a Christmas gift that you received as a child, that even now when I say close your eyes and remember that gift, it pops into your head. You got it? All right, open your eyes. What's your gift? Anybody want to share what it was? Or did you do it or just go to sleep? Pair of skates. And what made it memorable?
That I actually wanted it.
Uh-huh. There you go. Okay. So it changed your life. All right. Anybody else got a gift? Little square bulb on top? Camera? Okay, cool. And? Just fun. Okay, all right. Her eyes popped open? Okay. Yeah. You still have it? Okay. All right. Anybody else got one? Yeah. Okay. Okay. And is Holly still with us?
No, but she was
Okay. All right. Anybody else?
I know this is surprising, but I missed the microphone.
And why is that so memorable for you? We know why it's memorable for us.
Started the whole night.
Okay.
Everyone in the neighborhood is here.
And is that the one where they used to run the commercial where the guy was in the car and go, "Hey, baby, what you doing? Come on over here." Is that was it?
You can broadcast to the radio.
Okay.
People like to on the radio.
Okay. Perfect. Anybody else got one that they remember? No? All right. I got one. It's right here. I still have it. Anybody ever watched Lost in Space? This is the Remco Lost in Space robot, 1966. If any of you start grabbing your phones and trying to find it on eBay right now, you can find it. It's out there. This is one of the rare ones. Dark body, red trim legs, arms. And for me, when I got this was one of those shows that I used to watch that fascinated me but scared me to death. The possibility of aliens and monsters in space, but also at the same token, it allowed me to ignite my imagination. And this thing is well loved. It has been broken. It has been dropped. It has been rewired. It has been re-engineered. It has been put back together for it to survive from 66 to today. And it sits in my office for the most part. It's probably an act of God. But it is one of those things, when I look at it, I instantly go back to those memories and those moments under that Christmas tree, and I can remember what was going on and what that Christmas morning was like. But I also remember beyond that the times in my life where my imagination took me outside or beyond where I was. I was a kid who played, and as I played, we created these massive displays of space things. And, the space race was on at the time. And living here in Florida, we would spend our time and we would watch all the rockets go up, much like we do today. And it expanded the possibilities of what I could be and what I could do. I want you to know something, that today, in some ways, this is a day that's designed to expand your horizons, expand your possibilities. I have a board that I've written over there, and it asks the question, or not really a question, just makes a statement. Believe. Believe. If I were to say to you that the impact of your leadership can last for generations, if we were going to talk about that a little bit, I would ask you, do you really believe that? because I do. I believe that the things that we do as leaders impact the people that work around us, but also extend beyond that. And even though we don't always see it or we don't appreciate it, what we do really does ripple and has a ripple effect that will change lives even after you're long gone. Now, that's a statement. That's a big statement, though, because you know the environments you lead in, you know the people you work with, and some of the people you work with make it really hard to think you're going to impact anybody. But it's a big statement. So the question is it hope or hype? Because for a lot of people, and we're going to put a Christmas spin on what we do today, obviously, but when they think about Christmas time, for some, people approach Christmas, and there's a lot of hope in Christmas. They understand the meaning of Christmas. They understand what it's about. But for some people, they get a little irritated at Christmas time because it's all about hype. They get tired of the music. They get tired of the lights. They get tired of all the ramp up. They will always want to throw that resting Grinch face at you and say, it's all commercial, and the heart gets real small. And they get kind of grumpy around Christmas time for a lot of reasons. And so for some, Christmas doesn't mean anything. It's just hype. I want you to understand something. It's only hype if you don't believe it. It's hope if you do believe it. It's only hype if you don't believe it. It's hope when you do believe it. And so today we're going to talk about how to lead and how we lead specifically. And I'm going to start by talking about your lane of leadership. We all have it. We have a lane that we lead in. I don't care who you are. You have a family, you lead at home. If you're in a workplace, you're leading in that workplace. If you're with some type of peer group, you're leading in some way. Your life is you're pouring your life into other people, and you're leading them. And so there's a lane that we lead in, okay? And I think that sometimes we make mistakes as leaders if we don't understand our lane. And the other mistake we make as leaders is that we're trying to lead something that we're not. And so not only do you need to understand how to lead, but you need to understand the culture that you're leading into. Every one of the breakouts today is going to speak to this. And so my job is really to throw out a big introduction, throw out some ideas, and then I'll come back at the end and share another idea or two with you as we kind of wrap this up. But I want you to start thinking about your lane of leadership today. And think of it that way, your lane of leadership. And I want to summarize for you the culture that you lead in. And not because I'm brilliant, not because I'm smart, but because I know the culture you lead in. I can describe it, and I can describe it in 11 words. Now, as a pastor, I rarely say anything in 11 words. Amen. Who invited Kirk? But the 11 words will describe whatever area you're leading in, okay? And so I'm going to give them to you as my Christmas gift to you, early, Christmas in July. Here are the 11 words that summarize the culture that you lead in. This is who we are, and this is what we do. That's it. It's that simple. That's the culture. This is who we are, and this is what we do. And whatever company you're working for, whatever group that you work with, whatever organization it is, you answer these two questions, and this is what fills that lane that you lead in. This is who we are, and this is what we do. And so figure out then what that looks like, because this is the area that you lead in. This is the lane that you lead in. Hopefully, you're moving forward, always moving forward. This is who we are, this is what we do, and we're moving forward. We're making progress. We're accomplishing things. But understanding this is essential to be successful as a leader, because if you don't understand this, then what are you going to lead? I mean, if you don't know who you are or what you're doing, how will you ever figure out where you're going? And for companies, this is essential. And for leaders, this is essential. Let me give you an illustration, a modern-day illustration of it, if you will. Think about the Walt Disney Company for a couple minutes. Now, if you're a Disney stockholder, you know that Disney stock is half of what it was 8 years ago. As a company, if you were to go check them on Wall Street, they are half of the company they were 2 years ago. They've lost, I think, $15 billion worth of value. That's huge, right? And so, move all the politics and the news and all the kind of things aside, but ask yourself a question. If you're Walt Disney or you're the Walt Disney Company, this is who we are, this is what we do. Well, what is the Disney Company? Well, Disney Company traditionally has been a creator of family entertainment. That's what they do. Walt wasn't just an animator. He created family entertainment. He was a storyteller. He created family entertainment. That's what Disney does. That's what they do best. They do it in theme parks. They do it in movies. This is who we are. This is what we do. But as of late, Disney has gotten a lot of publicity for doing some other things. Oh, they've been over here fighting against Governor DeSantis on a bill. Well, that's not in their lane. See, if this is their lane, this is who we are, this is what we do, we create family entertainment, I decide I'm going to fight a political battle over here. Well, all of a sudden, I got a problem because now I'm not in my lane anymore. And I've decided to move outside my lane. And that's fine as long as you figure out how to get out there and get back. But if you're just trying to do this out here, you've lost your effectiveness as a leader because you don't know what you're doing. Now, maybe you're supposed to fight those political battles, but what you have to learn to do then is expand your lane to get down there. And great leaders understand when they need to expand their lanes, when they need to change lanes and move into a new direction. But just to fight that battle doesn't cut it. Disney as a company has forgotten how to tell stories. Think about the Disney releases as of late. They're all now live action remakes of animated features. Or they're sequels, but they're not really sequels, they're double sequels or triple sequels. Very few new ideas. They can't come up with a new story right now. When their CEO left, they couldn't come up with a new CEO. What they did is they did a rerun. Bob Iger came back. So they've got Iger, who is a rerun, who is now leading the company again. And Iger's just announced he's not leaving the company again. He's going to stick around for another 2 years. But don't worry about it. They're going to find a new leader. And so Disney right now can't find a lane. 4th of July, Disney, least attended day in the history of 4th of July is in the Walt Disney Company, inside of theme parks. If you wanted to go to a Disney attraction, it was the lowest wait time ever in history on the 4th of July, which traditionally has been one of their biggest days. What's the problem? They've lost their lane. And so for you and I to understand how to lead, that's one illustration. Take that and move that into the arena that you lead or you influence. If you forget who you are and you forget what you do, you're always going to be in trouble. And so the question is, what do we pour into that lane? What fuels us moving forward, trying to become who we're supposed to be? And you have to be clear about the culture that you lead. And so what I want to do is I want to share with you that if this is what we're about, there are some things that we are pouring into this all the time that help get us where we need to be. And these are the things that you're going to hear repeated in some way or another throughout the course of the day. 4 things start driving this forward. And these 4 things are all things at different levels we have to deal with. Vision, where we're going. Value, why we're going there. The vehicle, how do we get there? And then the velocity, how fast are we going to go? And in any culture, in any environment that you're in, these things all become things, issues that you are moving that is propelling the culture forward. And if you can communicate these, if you can energize and you can pour and fuel what's in that lane, then you'll be successful moving forward. And so in the next couple of minutes, I'm going to talk about each one of these specifically real quick in broad strokes. And then you're going to hear more about them. And so as you're listening today, as you're listening to the breakout sessions, think about, okay, well, that applies to this area, that applies to this area, that applies to this area. Because they will. They'll all apply. Because it's about taking that culture that you have and leading it and making it the best it can possibly be. So vision. Vision is where we are going. Here's what I believe about vision. If you're a great leader, your vision will always outpace your resources. Your vision will always outpace your resources. In other words, you're going to have a vision, and when you first have it, you're not going to have the resources to get there yet. Not yet. But if that vision is good and it's clear, that vision is a God vision. If that vision is out there that really does need to be pursued, then the resources come behind it, but the vision is first. And so your vision will always outpace your resources. And great ideas tend to show up in ideas that others have overlooked. And so some of the best ideas, some of the best vision emerges from ideas that others have overlooked. And no idea is overlooked as much as the unthinkable. How often do we put a limit on what we're going to do by just thinking that's impossible? It's impossible. We just can't do it. And you sit there and you hear, and you go, no, this can't happen. It's just too much. It won't go that way. But when you start thinking about where we're going, this is what we're trying to do, you have to be honest and say, okay, if this is where we're going, are we accomplishing that here? In other words, if we're supposed to be going here, is this what we're doing? Go back to the Disney company again. We're to provide family entertainment. Is that what we're doing? Are we doing other things now that we've decided are more important? See, having a clear vision, obviously, is essential, and understanding how to communicate that also becomes important. Now, I have another gift for you. Actually, as tables, this will work out pretty well for you guys. See, I don't get to be with you guys very long today, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you this. I'll let you guys work together here, 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 here. This one's open. I'll give it to you here. Don't open it yet. All right, what I've given you is, are you going to participate with Richard? Yeah, nobody wanted to sit with him. I felt bad for him. I shaved and bathed and everything. It's not even Saturday yet. I got it. What I want you to do, and this is going to be very, very quick. Now, and I will tell you at the front end before you even start. I tested it on a 12-year-old kid. It took 3.5 minutes. Okay? Yeah, well, that's what we're getting ready to find this out, aren't we? This is where we put the rubber meets the road. Here's what I want you to do. Inside, you as a table, once you open this envelope, you have what you need to build Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. You have 3 minutes. Go ahead and give it a shot. You guys want one? You get one? There you go. Flip 3 minutes. That's right. Got about 2 minutes. 2 minutes left. All right. Count down, just a couple more moments. There you go. I love it. Did you not get a red nose? in the packet? There's not a red nose in the packet? Look at that. You guys got ripped off. Sorry about that. It's okay. That's fine. All right, 10 seconds. I'll give you 5 seconds. 4, 3. Okay, hands up. Be done. All right, let's see. Hands up. All right. How many of you were able to put something together that looks a little something like this? Little bitty, but this is kind of what it looks like. Let's see what you got. Okay, this group back here has it, and I saw theirs. They're good. Now, they did everything except that somehow they got slided in their packet. They didn't get the red nose, but that's the same reindeer. Well, it was the same reindeer. Oh, you didn't get the sticker off? Is that what it was? How did we do over here? You have no head. Okay, nice. Okay. How are we doing up here? That's something like Franken reindeer. All right. Got it? Okay.
We only had two
That's close. Yeah, you did. You didn't get the whole thing, did you? And how are we doing, Kirk?
Not good.
Not good? How we do here? Nice. This reindeer-ish.
It's our vision.
It's your vision of a reindeer. That's right. It's your vision of a reindeer. Everything done. Perfect. Nothing. And how about over here? Rick, how are we doing over here? In progress? All right. Now, oh, sorry. Headless reindeer. Okay. It took my son just a few minutes to do this. And the amazing thing about it is, when he opened it up, he never looked at the directions. He just went. He thinks in Lego. Now, here in fairness, you need to know that each one of you, although you got the same pieces, you all didn't get the same directions. Some of you got 2 pages of directions, which would have taken you step by step where you could have completed a reindeer if you thought in Lego. Some of you figured out that you only got half the directions. So you could get halfway home, and then you needed something else to figure it out. Some of you got nothing but a good luck note. Build Rudolph, have fun, go with God. That says, Build Rudolph, you can do it. And this one says, you can make it happen. Now, feel better about yourself, right? Put it together. This group here was unique because this group got all the pieces, but then they got directions to a completely different thing. Their directions had nothing to do with the reindeer at all. It was just something very, very different, and it left them to solve the problem on their own. And how'd y'all do with that? Yeah, you got all the pieces. You got a head. You got a head, yeah. See, vision at some point has to be communicated. It has to be expressed. You have to give them a picture of what it is. Okay. Well, thank y'all for coming today. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. Hope you learned a lot, and we will see you next year. There has to be a picture of where you're going. You have to be able to communicate that. You have to be able to communicate that clearly. By giving you an envelope and just saying, build it, for some of you, if you don't think in Lego, which is a whole different way of thinking, it's not quite so easy. It takes you some time to kind of figure out how to do it. If you had the directions, eventually you would have gotten there. For some of you, you didn't have the direction you needed. You could get about halfway home. And then from there, you got to figure out on your own, or need to be able to look at a picture at least of where you're going. Others, you just create your own vision. That's what I think a reindeer needs to be, And so put it with the crazy cats, and you're in good shape, right? I mean, that's the way it works. For others of you, basically, you just got to, hey, you go get them. You can do it. I believe in you. A lot of good wishes, right? And then, of course, this group here had no direction at all. It was just going to get this done. I think that sometimes we don't always do a good job at communicating what it is that people need. We don't always communicate to our teams what it is they need to hear. I believe this, that as a leader, you don't have to tell people everything they want to know. Your job as a leader is to tell people what they need to know to be successful. Huge difference. I know people who want to know everything. Their favorite phrase is, "Well, I didn't know that." Well, and again, if you were going to really dialogue about that, you say, "Well, you didn't need to know that, but you need to know this." And for you as a leader, you always have to get to the end of the day and deal with the issue, did I tell people what they needed to know to be successful, or did I ask them to do something that they were set up to fail in? Nothing kills your leadership swagger more than setting people up to fail. I mean, they may follow you because they like you. They may follow you because they love you. They may follow you because they think you're good looking or they just want to be supportive. But at the end of the day, if you set them up to fail and you don't tell them what they need to know to be successful, one, you haven't done your job as a leader. But beyond that, they'll only follow you so long because you haven't been able to communicate what that vision is clearly. Vision is not expressed in philosophy. And your philosophy is not expressed in words. It's expressed in the decisions and the choices that you make. And that's what people are looking at for you as a leader, the decisions and the choices that you make. Time after time after time, if you're making decisions and choices that put you in the arena to be successful and make them successful, they will follow. And the choices, by the way, if you're a leader, they're your responsibility. For this group here, the fact that they couldn't, I knew that they weren't going to get it. Now, and again, I'm going to brag on David a little bit. David is a problem solver, and I've known David for now most of his life. David's been with me forever. Now, if anybody can figure it out, and give enough time, he'll do it. I mean, he'll work here all day, but he'll get it done. We're going to have a reindeer by the end of the day. I know David is a problem solver. And so it might be a better version of it, yes. But for us, we have to understand that the fact that they couldn't do it, that's on me. The fact that some of you couldn't figure it out, that's my fault. I didn't give you what you needed. For those of you that had all the directions and still couldn't do it, that's on you. You guys just stink at Lego. And let's be honest about it. I mean, I'm just looking. I'm just glancing this way. But you've got to make sure that you understand who you are well enough to know what you're giving people. A lot of times what we think we're delivering to people isn't what we're delivering to people. A lot of times the direction we think we've given isn't really the direction that they need at all. Vision, when it's clearly understood, is a picture of the direction that you need to go, and it's direction, not intention, that gets you to your destination. Direction, not intention, gets you to your destination. I have another gift for you. Everybody gets one of these. Help Matt pass these around if you wouldn't mind. And you can open it now. It's a Christmas card. I got you all a Christmas card. I wanted you to have it. And this time, no directions to it. It's pretty simple. Got it? Oh, I'm sorry. One more. Just go ahead and open it up. And tell me what I just wished you. Noel, right. If you look at it, there's Noel. I just wished you all Noel. There's Noel to that. All you have to do is look at it. So what did I really wish you? I wished you Merry Christmas. I wished you good news. I wished you Noel. That is, for us, what kicks us into the second part of what's fueling this. This is who we are. This is what we do. The value. Why are you going there? I give you a Christmas card with one intent, to wish you Merry Christmas. I give to you that gift to simply say, it's good news. And that's what you got in there. Now, did it say Noel? No, there was just Noel there. Now, it left it for you to fill in some of the gaps, and sometimes that's okay. As a leader, it doesn't hurt to empower the people around you to figure out what it is that they need to do. Why? Because when they figure it out, they're going to be better at it. When they can take some ownership of it, they're going to be more successful at it. But you have to be able to make sure that they know why they're going there. So, again, I give you a Christmas card. You figure out that it says good news. That's what I wanted to wish you. That's why we were doing it. In our life sometimes, in our leadership world especially, people need to know why we're doing what we're trying to do. Because when we get there, we want there to be that moment to celebrate. We also want to be able to look back over the road to get there to see how we made that progress. And we need to understand that the moments in front of us are the best moments. And when we're moving forward, what we're doing matters. Nothing is worse for your team if they feel like what they're doing doesn't matter. If they feel like what they're doing doesn't count. If it's not appreciated. One of the greatest things that we as leaders can do is make sure that the people that are working with us know that they matter and that we see them. They're not just cogs in this big wheel. But just like the direction that we're casting, where are we going into this lane of leadership, we constantly have to keep coming back and say, why are we going there? What is it that we're hoping to accomplish? And you can't assume that your team understands what you're trying to accomplish. That has to be something that you communicate, that you say, that they see, and it has to be repeated over and over and over again. The why of the card I gave you, very simple. I just wanted to wish you Merry Christmas. In your leadership environments, that why are we going there is something that's going to come up time after time after time. And if you can't come up with a valid reason, guess what? People won't go with you. If there's not a good reason to get there, why would anybody sign up for the journey? Because no one's interested in that. Because time is valuable. Life is too short. And we're all looking for some type of joy in the journey. So I have something else for you. See, I don't know if any of the other presenters are going to give you as much as I'm giving right now. But if you want to evaluate success in leadership based on just takeaways, I'm really setting the bar as high as I possibly can. I want you to have, David, help me pass these out if you wouldn't mind. Everybody gets one of these. I'm going to put you back to work again. In some ways, what I'm giving you right now is a secret to anything you'll ever need to know when it comes to communicating in leadership. Because the third thing that we have to look at is, our vehicle. How do we get there? See, if we know where we're going and we know why we're going there, so now the real question, the rubber meets the road, how do we get there? What kind of tools do I get? What kind of resources do I get? What is it that I get that's going to help me get there? And what I've just given you, though, is the secret to success in communication in anything you do. Do you see it? Have I got it? What is it? What is it? That's a good start. That's a good start. What is it really? That's a what? No. But good guess. Thanks for participating. What's that? No, it's not a bicycle. See, this is the vehicle that you need to communicate with anybody that you're ever going to lead. If you were to take a look and you were to take a pencil, somewhere in this logo are all 26 letters of the alphabet and every number from 0 to 9. No. Yeah. Just keep working on that reindeer, will you? It's all over there. But if you were to take the time, you can find an A. So you find your A. And then you take this down from later and you find your B. There's a B right there. And then you can find a C. There's all sorts of C's on here. You can find a D. You can find an E. And if you take the time and keep playing with this, you have wrapped up into this everything that you need to communicate. How do we get there from here? You have 9 numbers. You can make those numbers work forever. You have every letter. That means that you can write whatever you need to write. That means that you can say whatever you need to say. Because there's a part of what we do as leaders where we have to equip people to get where they need to go. We have to equip them with the skill set that they need to be successful. Again, do you have what you need to be successful? Have I equipped you to be successful in what it is you're attempting? For a leader, at the end of the day, there's a whole lot of deliverables that people need from us. And they need to be inspired, and they need to be able to look at you and say they know what they're doing, and they need to have that confidence in you. But at some point, you have to give them something. You have to give them the goods, if you will. A lot of times for folks who lead, they get a position, but they don't know how to give the deliverables. how do we get there from here? I stated a vision. I told you why it's important. That's great. There's a vision, and it's really important. How do we get there? And if they look at the leader, and the leader goes, I don't know. But is it a good idea? Yes, it's a great idea. Let me go find a leader that can get me there. You have to be able to give to people the resources they need to be successful in this thing that they're trying to do. And so you spend a lot of time and energy in this particular area if you're a leader. This is a constant. Do you have what you need? Do you have what you need? You can ask the folks around here, if sometimes we misfire or something doesn't work well, the first question I ask myself is, did I give you what you needed to be successful? And if I did, then I can move to the second problem. Why didn't you do it? Or why did we misfire? But if I didn't give you what you needed to be successful, if I screwed it up, then guess what? That's where the conversation stops. I know why we didn't get there. Because I didn't do the things that I needed to do at the front end to make us successful. So that has to do with skill sets, that has to do with talents, that has to do with competencies. Any area where people need to have those resources. Now, how do we get there? One of the worst things that will kill this is, I don't know how to get there, but we'll get there someday. People don't die into someday if there's not a plan of how to get to someday. One of the phrases that we use around here a lot is that when things seem impossible, you expect to look at those things and they seem impossible. They're just so big that you know you can't do it yourself, and you know that if it's going to happen, God is going to have to come along and just come down and just blow into your life and make it happen because it's impossible. But if you stay with it long enough, all of a sudden you begin to see that the impossible changes and becomes improbable. Tough, no doubt about it. A lot of things that need to be done, no doubt about it. But at least there's a way. And if you keep working it, and you keep working in the improbable long enough, then all of a sudden the improbable becomes the inevitable. And when you move into the inevitable, then it's just a matter of the fact we're going to get there. When? Not someday. We're going to get there. See, someday is a disease that you'll take with you to the grave, and all your dreams get buried with you. Someday is a dream barrier. But you do the right things in the right way the first time, and it requires less maintenance, but it also moves you forward quicker. And if you can learn to do that, then we find ways along the way of how do we get there. We begin to have to deal with, how do we know we're on the process? How do we know we're getting where we need to go? How do we do it? And so for you as a leader, then that falls back to you again. You have to make the wins measurable. As you're fleshing out this vehicle of trying to get to where you need to go, you have to make the wins measurable. And sometimes that takes a lot of work for a leader, especially if you're chasing something big, because you have to then go back and find some shorter steps. So you ask the question, well, is it easy? Can everybody do it? Do you have a way for your team to buy into it? Are you using your team? Can people participate in this? Is it obvious? Does everybody know about it? Have you communicated it well enough? Or is it effective? Is it working? So your team has to know all of these kind of things. They can't do everything. But when you're moving forward, you have to be able to keep giving them constantly those opportunities to know, okay, but we're getting it right. We're participating. It's happening. It's coming together. We see the measurables on it. The more that you grow it, the more that you build that system, the more that you build your team around you, the more you're going to be able to deliver and be successful. And so you have a vision that you're casting. The value that you're throwing is why are we going there? Now, the vehicle, where you spend a great deal of time is how do we get from point A to point B and get there successful? Today, you're going to hear a whole lot about how do you get from point A to point B? How do you accomplish this? How can you handle this? How do you deal with this? What's going to happen if this happens? How can I move forward from here? All of those things are essential because that's what keeps us on this lane of leadership. This is who we are. This is what we do. And we always keep coming back to that culture. This is who we are. This is what we do. We don't make rockets. We make widgets. This is who we are. It's what we do. Let's make the best widget possible. Let's leave the rocket building to somebody else. And one day if your widgets become rockets, then you're back as a leader again, trying to expand your lane. And again, successful leadership knows when you have to expand this lane. Successful leadership knows if you have to create an off-ramp to accomplish this, to get back on. to this. And one of the most frightening things for leaders is when you get out here outside of your lane. Because as a leader, in those moments, you don't feel equipped. In those moments, you don't feel secure. You get into that unknown territory where you're not sure what's going to happen next. And when you find yourself out there, you realize that everyone is looking at you to try to figure out, what do we do now? And you don't know because you're out here and this is not what you do. And so part of that leadership skill is to either get back to where you need to be or to how do I get my people to expand this lane to get bigger. See, as a pastor, I always tell people, if you want to find, you get something done, find the people who are busy and doing other things. Find the busiest people you know, and they'll get stuff done. That's the way church works. And I understand that environment. But the other thing I understand about this, too, is that people, by nature, have this annoying thing that they do. And I say it's an annoying thing. It's an annoying thing because it annoys me. And so I'm really the only criteria for annoying that I care about, right? And so it's annoying to me. But it's something that a great leader never does. People always say, well, I can't do that. My plate's too full. Well, that's a lame excuse. Because, see, when you deal with the impossible, and when you deal with apex leadership, and when you deal with being able to lead and accomplish amazing things and have leadership that's going to live on beyond yourselves, you know what you have to do? You have to figure out how to get a bigger plate. See, I may not have room on my plate to do it. What's my need? I need a bigger plate. Because once I have a bigger plate, then I got my vehicle again. How do I get there? See, people like to step out because we live in a culture that has decided, man, we just need that me time. And I want you to hear me very carefully. If you're a leader, I want you to take care of yourself, and I want you to be a great leader. But if you're a leader and you're working a 40-hour work week, that's a vacation. Okay? I don't know any leaders that work 40-hour weeks. That's vacation. And what happens in our life is that we become so passionate about what we do and what we're trying to deliver that there are going to be struggles, no doubt. Will there be difficulties? Sure. But hopefully you see those as opportunities. And the struggles don't have to become your reality, because distorted reality will lead to dysfunction. Remember Apollo 13? 11 was successful. How about 13, the one that didn't go well? Apollo 13, remember that movie? They get to that one point in the movie, and they figure out that they've got to scrub the air, okay, because the guys are going to die in space. And you got Cranston saying, they never lost a man in space. It's not going to happen on my watch. Failure is not an option. We'd have to quote down. We know how it works. But basically what they had to do is they had to get a square filter to fit into a circular hole. And they walked in and said, we have to get this to fit into this. And this is the stuff we have on board the spacecraft to do that. And they just dumped it all out on the table. When they dumped all that junk out on the table, that was the reality. Now, if you've watched the movie, if you've watched the scene recently, you know what happens. But if you watch it, and you know what, and you look at that stuff that's all dumped out on the table, and they all sat around the table going, wow, that's bad. We don't have anything that's going to work on that. And if they would allow that reality to become what drove them, then all of a sudden, they would have become dysfunctional because reality would have been distorted and never be successful. In the movie, what they did is what they did in real life, according to history. They said, all right, let's divide it up, let's figure it out. And they just kind of tore it apart. Now, at the end of the day, you know what saved Apollo 13 was duct tape. I mean, that's what got the astronauts home was duct tape. Because that's how they built this new filter to do something that they had never done before, to test the limits of what they knew. And so never underestimate the power of duct tape. Great leaders understand that a roll of duct tape can go a long, long way, but that's ultimately what got the astronauts home. But it also kept them from being dysfunctional, because excellence always rises to the top. And excellence becomes average when it's all you've got. As a leader, wouldn't it be great if when people looked at you, they just said, for them, excellence is just an average day. See, because if excellence is all you've got, then on your worst day, you're going to be a leader that's better than everybody else. You have to learn to focus not on the transaction part of leadership, but on the transformational part of leadership. It's one thing to get something done and check the box. It's another thing to get there and to be able to check the box knowing that you got your team there, that everyone was successful, they were able to go back and do what we were talking about, wherever the wins, I participated in my own way, I'm a part of this. That's transformational. If you're a transformational leader, people will follow you anywhere. If it's all about the transaction, you're just checking a box, you'll just be replacing people left and right. And so for you, in your world as a leader, even as you're listening today, allow your horizons to expand. Hang with it. Don't quit. And the other thing you got to do is, as you're trying to figure out how to get there, understand that while there are setbacks, and there will be moments where you will fail, the failures never have to become permanent. They become growing moments that you go over and that you move beyond. Never create a culture where you celebrate quitting. Never create a culture that institutionalizes quitting. Quitting is never okay. Not trying is never all right, especially when there's a task that's before you. As a parent, I've had that conversation with my middle schooler a number of times. I'm just going to quit. No, you're not. Well, Dad, I can't do it. Well, I know, but the minute you said you were going to quit meant you're not going to quit. Now, it might be what he's trying to do is absolutely impossible, but the fact that he actually uttered the words, I'll quit. See, in my house, that's not acceptable. You can't say that as my son. You are going to keep trying this. We will figure it out, and if you have to come along behind and help you get it done, we're going to get it done because quitting is not an option for you. We're never going to celebrate being a quitter. We're never going to celebrate those moments where we're not going to do it. We're going to say, okay, well, we failed. We messed this up. Now, how do we go beyond this? Because this is who we are and this is what we do. See, if your culture is one where quitting is not a part of that culture, your success rate is going to be through the roof. It doesn't mean it's going to be pretty, by the way. It might be really ugly. But even the ugly things, sometimes they're a lot of fun to look back on and celebrate. So be confident, communicate, and be who you are. The last thing is velocity. How fast are we going to go? You have to move at the speed of life, and you have to move at the speed of the team around you. For leaders, one of the toughest things to do is learn to coach your team. You might want blue chippers, right? You might want 5-star recruits on your team, but they're not coming to your junior college, and so you're not going to win a basketball game with a bunch of blue chippers at your junior college because they ain't coming. So you have to coach your team, and you coach your team and make that team the team that you want. See, one of the worst mistakes that we make as leaders is we get jealous of those that have those things that we wish we had. Understand this, jealousy is the trophy that mediocrity gives to excellence. Jealousy is the trophy that mediocrity gives to excellence. And don't apologize for what you're not. Celebrate what you are, and then you build from there. And your level of expectation is going to determine your amount of preparation and your amount of perspiration that you're going to work on to get there. You can get to where you need to be. And you can get there as fast as possible if you remember the team that you're working with and you coach the team that you have. I have to be done. Leanne is prowling at the back of the room telling me, I have 4 minutes. Good, I'll land this thing then. Let me give you one last gift, not physical, the last gift. And it's something I hope that you will put into practice today, because this will help you with your velocity. One of the worst things that happen when you're trying to get places and when you're trying to do things, if you're a leader, is to make knee-jerk reactions. There's always a moment as a leader that you have to make a quick decision. But if you could learn to listen before you make that decision, you would go a long way toward making it happen. What is listening? Let me tell you. Listen. L. Let it settle. then engage, then enact, then energize. Okay? L, let, I, it, S, settle, then, that's the T, engage, energize, enact. In other words, take that half a heartbeat, hear what's going on, see it, make sure that you understand it before you make that next decision. It only takes half a second to listen. And by doing that, what happens is that you have an opportunity to regulate your velocity in such a way where you become more of a thermostat than you are a thermometer. Anybody can be a thermometer. Anybody can tell you whether the room is hot or cold. Anybody can tell you what's going on. But a thermostat controls the temperature. And for you as a leader, if you can control that and you can influence that, you'll go a long way toward being successful. All right, that means that we're done and here, and that means we're getting ready to go into another session. You're going to come back and tell us what to do, what to go. If you have any questions, feel free to ask Leanne. She'll tell you later what you need to know.